All right, strap in, everyone. Today we're going deep on creatine.
Creatine, yeah.
It's everywhere you look these days, right?
Right.
But it's like, is it all hype or is there real science behind it?
Yeah.
I'm seeing these crazy transformations online and athletes swear by it. But then you hear those rumors about side effects and it's kind of like,
Yeah, you don't know what to believe.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we did some digging, rounded up a whole bunch of studies, research articles, the whole 9 yards, to really figure out
To get to the bottom of it.
what creatine is, how it works, and honestly, whether it's something you or I should even think about. You ready to break it all down?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
So, basics first. What is this stuff? Where does it even come from? What's it doing in our bodies?
Okay, so creatine is a naturally occurring compound. You find it mainly in our muscles, but also in the brain. And get this, it's actually involved in how our body makes energy. Specifically, the kind of quick energy we need for stuff like, sprinting or...
Like lifting weights, that kind of thing.
Exactly. That explosive power comes from a molecule called ATP, which is like the energy currency of our cells.
Okay.
Creatine helps replenish ATP super fast, meaning you can, say, squeeze out a few more reps or sprint a little faster before you hit that wall.
So it's not creating energy out of thin air. It's like making sure you've got enough of that quick energy ready to go.
That's it. And that's exactly why it's become so popular, especially with athletes trying to up their game in those high-intensity activities.
Right. Makes total sense. But you mentioned the brain. Creatine's there too. Does that mean, does taking creatine supplements affect us mentally too?
That's where things get super interesting. Creatine's known for its muscle effects, for sure.
Right.
But research is starting to show it could play a role in how our brains work, too.
Okay, now you have to tell me more.
Yeah.
What kind of brain benefits are we talking about here?
Think of it this way. Your brain cells, just like your muscles, they need a steady supply of energy to function, to, work at their best. And some studies are suggesting that creatine supplements might help keep that energy flowing, especially when you're really pushing it mentally.
So hold on. Are you saying creatine could, help me focus during those late-night study sessions or when I'm just feeling completely drained?
It's possible. There's research suggesting that creatine might help with processing information faster and with working memory, particularly when you're sleep deprived or, as we get older.
Okay, now that is fascinating. But here's the thing. If we already have creatine in our bodies, why even bother with supplements? Isn't our diet enough?
It's a good question. We do get some creatine naturally through foods like meat and fish.
Right.
But supplements can really bump up those creatine levels in our muscles and brain, which could mean even bigger benefits for both our physical and mental performance.
So how do people even take these supplements? Is it like athletes chugging protein shakes with extra creatine?
The most common way is creatine monohydrate. It's a powder you mix with water or juice. It's tasteless, so it's easy to add to your routine.
Got it. So we've touched on the athletic performance boost, which we'll definitely dig into more.
Yeah.
But honestly, I am super intrigued by this whole brain benefit thing.
Me too. It's an exciting area of research.
What are some of the most promising findings so far?
Well, for one, there's evidence that creatine might actually protect your brain. Some studies show it can help people recover from concussions or brain injuries, and some research is even looking into whether it can help with managing depression.
Whoa, wait. So you're saying creatine could be a real game changer for people struggling with brain injuries or mental health conditions? That's huge.
The potential is definitely there. Of course, we need more research, but these early findings are really promising. It definitely needs more investigation.
Wow. We've only just scratched the surface here, haven't we?
Totally.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the impact on athletic performance. And then we can tackle some of the big questions and, let's be honest, myths that are out there about creatine.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of how creatine actually affects those hardcore workouts.
Okay, so let's get into how creatine can really boost those workouts. One of the key things it does is it increases something called anaerobic work capacity.
Anaerobic what now?
Yeah, it's a mouthful, right. Basically, it means your muscles can do more work before they get tired. So think heavier lifts, more reps, faster sprints, all that good stuff.
So it's like, when you're going for that new personal best on your bench press, that feeling of pushing past your limits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just strength either. It can also boost your power, which is how fast you can generate force. Think like jumping or throwing a punch, those quick bursts.
So for people who are into CrossFit or HIIT workouts where it's like constant high-intensity exercises, creatine could be a real game changer.
Absolutely. And it can help you recover faster between those intense bursts, too. Remember how we were talking about creatine helping to replenish ATP, that quick energy source?
Yeah.
Well, that faster replenishment means you're ready to go again quicker. You can hit those next intervals with more power.
I see, I see. So less time catching your breath, more time crushing those burpees.
Right.
I like it. Okay, so we've talked a lot about strength and power. But what about endurance activities? Like for runners or cyclists who are going long distances? Does creatine help them too?
That's a good question. Creatine's definitely most effective for those shorter, more intense bursts of activity.
Yeah.
But there are some studies that suggest it might help endurance athletes as well, particularly when it comes to those final sprints or surges.
So like in the final stretch of marathon, that last push to the finish line.
Exactly. And think about sports like soccer or basketball where you're sprinting on and off throughout the game. Creatine could help you keep up that speed and power as the game goes on.
Interesting. So whether you're a power lifter or a marathon runner, there might be some benefits there. But okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. There are a lot of rumors and concerns about creatine. I know people who are hesitant to try it because they've heard some scary stuff.
Yeah, I get that. There's a lot of misinformation out there.
Like the whole creatine makes you bloat thing. Is there any truth to that?
Okay, so it is true that creatine can cause some water retention, especially when you first start taking it.
Right.
But it's not fat gain, it's just water being pulled into your muscles. And actually, that can make your muscles look fuller. This water weight usually goes away after the first few days or weeks.
So no need to worry about like suddenly gaining 10 pounds overnight.
No, not at all.
Okay, good to know. What about the whole kidney damage thing? That one always makes me a little nervous.
That's a really common misconception. Tons of studies have shown that creatine is safe for healthy people when taken at the recommended dosages, and it doesn't cause kidney damage.
So if your kidneys are good to go, you're probably fine.
Exactly. And let's put another one to rest, creatine causing hair loss. That's just a myth. There's no scientific evidence to back that up at all.
All right, so I can keep my hair. Phew.
Mm.
What about dehydration and muscle cramps? I've heard those are linked to creatine too.
Again, there's really no strong evidence to support that. Of course, it's always important to stay hydrated, especially when you're taking supplements. But creatine itself doesn't cause dehydration or cramping.
Okay, so water bottle's still my best friend. So we've talked about healthy adults. What about teenagers or older folks? Is creatine safe for everyone?
So for kids and teens, we need more research. So it's best for them to talk to their doctor before taking creatine.
No.
But for older adults, there's actually research showing that creatine can be really beneficial. It can help with muscle mass, strength, and even bone health.
Wow. So it actually help us stay strong as we age.
Exactly. It's like a secret weapon for healthy aging.
I love that. Okay, quick fire round. Does creatine make you gain fat?
No, it doesn't.
What about that loading phase everyone talks about? Is that absolutely necessary?
It can help increase your creatine levels faster, but it's not a must-do. You can still get benefits from just taking a regular dose every day.
Okay, good to know you have options.
Okay.
Last myth I want to bust, and I think this is a big one, is creatine only for men who are, like, super into lifting weights?
Oh, definitely not. While creatine is known for boosting strength and power, research is showing that both men and women can benefit from it. And it's not just for weightlifting either.
So even if I'm not trying to bench press a car, there's still a reason for me to consider creatine.
Exactly. It could help you in all sorts of activities. And women, who naturally tend to have lower creatine levels, might see even bigger benefits.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Now, there are so many different kinds of creatine out there. Creatine ethyl ester, creatine HCl. Is there a best one?
Creatine monohydrate is the OG. It's the most researched and seems to be the most effective. The other forms haven't really shown any clear advantages.
So sticking with the classic is a good bet. All right, I think we've officially debunked a lot of those creatine myths. But now let's get down to the practical stuff. How much should people be taking? Is it safe to take it long term? And what about that whole pre-workout versus post-workout debate?
Perfect. We'll get into all those details in the next part. We'll cover how to add creatine to your routine safely and effectively.
Okay, so we've talked about what creatine is and why you might want to take it.
Right.
But now let's get into the how.
Okay.
Like, how much should you be taking? Is it actually safe in the long run? All that good stuff.
Let's start with safety. The good news is creatine monohydrate, the most common form, is considered safe for most healthy people as long as you're taking the recommended dose.
Okay, That is good to hear, but what is the recommended dose? I'm sure people want to know.
Usually it's about 3 to 5 grams per day, or you can go by body weight, zero point 0.1 grams per kilogram of body weight per day.
So for someone who weighs, say, 150 pounds, that would be about 7 grams a day.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that long-term supplementation, even up to 5 years in some studies,
What?
hasn't shown any negative effects in healthy people.
5 years. That's a long time. But I'm guessing there are some exceptions, right? Like what if you have some kind of pre-existing condition?
Of course, of course. Just like with any supplement, if you have any kidney or liver issues, you should definitely talk to your doctor before taking creatine.
Okay, that makes sense. Always better to be safe than sorry. Now, what about those rare cases where people have bad reactions to creatine? Anything specific people should look out for?
Well, it doesn't happen often, but it's always a good idea to start with a lower dose and slowly increase it. Just see how your body feels.
Okay, start slow, pay attention to your body. Got it. So, let's settle this once and for all. When's the best time to take creatine? Before a workout, after a workout, or does it even matter?
The age-old question, right? The classic advice is to take it before you work out to really fuel those muscles.
Yeah, fuel up before you hit the gym. Makes sense.
But get this, some newer research is saying that taking creatine after your workout might actually be better. It could help your muscles absorb it better.
Interesting. So we don't really know for sure yet.
Not definitively, no. We need more research. But honestly, the most important thing is consistency. Pick a time that works for you and stick to it.
Consistency is key.
I like that. Okay, so I feel like we've covered a lot today. We've busted some myths, talked about the potential benefits, and even gotten into the nitty-gritty of actually using creatine. So for our listeners who are thinking about trying it, what are your final takeaways?
Here's the bottom line. For most healthy folks, creatine monohydrate is a safe and effective supplement, especially at those recommended doses we talked about.
Right.
It can definitely boost athletic performance, especially for high-intensity workouts. And the research on brain health is really exciting, too. There's a lot of potential there.
It really seems like creatine has a lot to offer.
It does. But remember, everyone is different. It's important to do your research, think about your goals, and talk to your doctor if you have any concerns. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So for everyone listening, is creatine right for you? Here's a thought. If you're looking to push your workouts further, whether you're hitting the gym, playing sports, or just trying to be more active, creatine might be worth a shot. And if you're intrigued by those brain benefits we talked about, better focus, stronger memory, even potentially protecting your brain as you age, then keep an eye on the research. It's an exciting field with a lot of potential.
It really is. And as always, knowledge is power when it comes to health and wellness. Stay curious, stay informed, and make choices that work for you.
Love it. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of creatine. We hope you learned a lot, maybe had some of your assumptions challenged, and maybe even got a little excited about what creatine might be able to do. Keep exploring, keep learning, and as always, keep diving deep.